Page 121, Standing in the Need of Prayer. On page 120, they give you some more exercises with rhythm and sight reading. I haven't talked too much about the sight reading, but I encourage you to do as much sight reading as you can. Just sit down and if you have a music book, just try and play through it. Make hopefully a simple music, one at your level. Generally when you sight read, you'll sight read a slightly easier music than what you're typically playing. But sight reading is such an important skill, I can't stress it enough. Just sight read all you can if you can, the best you can. Now, standing in the need of prayer, we're going to use a lot of these things we've used so far, and they're adding another musical term for you to learn and memorize and know forever and ever. And that's that Dici al fine, not fine, it's fine, it's Italian. They give you what the letters mean. I just say DC, it's quicker, I'm lazy, I will take the easy route. You'll find it at the bottom, here under the staff at the end. DC, simply put, means go back to the beginning. It's sort of like a repeat sign, but not quite. Just go back. There's no exceptions to this one. DC, go back to the beginning. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. End of discussion. That's it. Go to the beginning. Al fine means to fine. Fine, in other words, go back to the beginning and play to the end, is what it's saying. Well, if you look at the end of the second line, under the staff, you see the fine. Now keep in mind that DC al fine and the fine things, they might be above the staves or below the staves or in the middle or wherever. Doesn't matter. They're there, so it's okay. I mean, it applies. The fine is where the piece ends. You see the thin and thick bar line there? See, this is a case where the thin and thick bar line, the end of the piece, the thin and thick bar line means the end of the piece. It's not actually at the end, it's somewhere else, because now we're starting to go wherever. So I need to talk about the road map. Where do we go when? DC al fine is pretty common. It's used a lot. You'll see it a lot. So in this piece, we're going to go play all 4 lines and then go back up and do the first 2 lines again. That's all. In this standing thing, 4/4 time, it has a pickup beat. You notice the first measure only has 1 beat in it. So should be a measure somewhere else with 3 beats in it. So let's look around. You see the end of the second line, 3 beats in that one. Well, at the beginning of the third line, there's 1 beat in that. Well, that means we need another measure with 3 beats in it somewhere else, because we got to come out to 4 beats total. And if you look at the very bottom of the piece, the last measure, that has 3 beats in it. The piece is actually in 2 sections, because if you look at the very bottom, you see the double bar lines. That's a section. That means the end of a section. So the first 2 lines is a section of music, and the last 2 lines is a section of music. Each one has their own pickup beat and pickup measure. And they can do that. So right hand first, third finger on E puts us here, C position. 2, remember a dotted half note is 3 quarter notes, just remember that. And the last 2 measures of the first line, 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. You get that in the second line too. Let's go down to the third line. Now we have that 1 and, now this is 4 and. Remember the pickup beat is beat 4. So it's 4 and it's a D sharp. So instead of D, we're going to use D sharp, just second finger on here. So it's 4 and. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. You get the idea, I hope. The left hand, chords. Keep the left hand out of the way. Now they give some words there. It's me. Other people want to sing it too, they can sing those. But I recommend when you play it, go ahead and keep them soft. That's really what it is. That's about all you've got. You have an F chord there at the bottom, or the end of the second line and the end of the last line. So it's here. You need to be able to play this piece without looking at the keyboard at all. In fact, most of the pieces we've done, you shouldn't look at the keyboard unless you have a big move, a hand move. You got to look for that. Otherwise, you want to learn to feel your way around the keyboard here. To get all that, then we can add there's no articulation to speak of Just play it all pretty much legato. You can add the phrasing if you follow the words. Just follow the sentences and the words, and then you lift up the right hand at the end of a sentence at the first line. You can lift up right there, saying, lift up, and lift up after prayer. So you just lift up in the right hand, but follow the left hand as legato as you can, except for the rests. Then you add the dynamics. Well, sort of loud, that's the melody. Keep the left hand soft. You'll have to decide what moderately loud is. Then you have that arrow to crescendo up. So there's not a lot of difference between moderately loud and loud. Just a little bit, so you're just going to get a little louder. Don't get loud to the last measure, so pace yourself here. You can actually come down a little bit on the medium at the beginning of that. Come down lower than medium loud, start a little softer, and so you got more room to grow. Now you're loud. Now you got the decrescendo area. You're going to go back down to medium loud. Actually, you can come down to a medium soft here. Pace yourself. It's okay. You figure it out, and you'll get used to this. After you've done a few 100,000 of these. It's not like every note's got to change. You can take it in groups of notes. Sometimes you take it a measure at a time when the arrow spans for measures. Like in the first line, the arrow's the full measure, and you got all these notes in here, and you're not going very far. So every note isn't going to get a little louder. You might take it by the beat. So the first two notes, stay the next two notes maybe a little louder, and then a little louder, and now. So I'm taking it like each two notes. Or I can maybe take all the eighth notes and just leave them at the same level, and then a little louder for the quarter notes. Now louder. So it's like I'm crescendoing every two beats there, because I need to spread it out over the whole measure. You'll adjust this and experiment on getting louder and softer to make it last as long as it needs to. In the second line, when you're going down, I might play the eighth notes fairly loud still. And then the quarter notes come down a little bit, and then come down. There, so you experiment with that. Third line, you're medium loud. Way through, and then at the end you got that crescendo again, just like in the first line. And then in the last line, the last two measures, you're going to come back down again. You have to experiment. So you play around with these crescendos and decrescendos, and really what you need to do is get to know the music well enough so you're not thinking about the mechanics and which fingers and notes and rhythm and all that. It's just automatic. Then you can feel the music, and then you can feel the dynamics, and you'll feel this crescendo. You'll just feel it, and you'll play it with the way you feel, I hope. Get to know the music first, and then maybe add the dynamics at that point. Speed-wise, not too fast. I do everything rhythmically, so I don't know what that means. Maybe that's too fast. You want to go slower? Depends on the mood you're in. And you'll play it at different speeds at different times based on the mood you're in and how much coffee you've had to drink, if you drink coffee like me. That's the idea. I don't want to do a play with me, but I want to do it slowly. So let's do that now. I'm not going to do any dynamics. We're just notes and rhythms. And remember that when we get to the bottom, we are going to go back to the top, and we're going to do the first two lines again. So I'll give us 3 counts because we come in on beat 4. 1, ready, go. 3. 3. 4. 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to the top. Two, three.